Hello and welcome. This is Amir Lahijy, live from Los Angeles. And today I'd like to talk to a doctor of philosophy in psychology. Dr. Payam Kade is here, and I'd like to ask him about importance of friendship. Hello and welcome, Dr. Kade.
Hello, Mr. Amir. Good evening.
It's
Nice to
pleasure
see you
to have
again.
you. Pleasure to have you here. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank
So, Dr. Kate, uh, I opened this topic, the importance of friendship. Why we need to have a friend and why we need to have a close friend.
That's actually a very good question. And I think to talk about this topic, first I have to tell you this. I think, and I have, even during the pandemic, when pandemic started, I said,
Mm-hmm.
let's not talk about social distancing and talk about physical distancing
Exactly.
because it may have a negative annotation and make people feel like they have to be away from each other physically and sometimes emotionally, physically. It has to be, it can be physically, but it doesn't have to be emotionally. We still can keep the connection with other people through all sorts of communication. We can even be in a distance of 6 feet, 10 feet, and still talk to people
Mm-hmm.
and be in contact with people, and that's very important. And I think obviously one of I truly believe this is actually a bigger pandemic than
Mm-hmm.
COVID-19
Mm-hmm.
because people are becoming isolated, and it's not. I don't think it's only because of COVID-19. I think this is becoming. It's also caused by social media
Mm-hmm.
because people are spending a lot more time on TikTok and a lot more time on other platforms of social media and keeping away from their friends. They may
Right.
have 3,000, 4,000 friends on social media, but I can guarantee you almost none of them are as close as they're supposed to be to them, right? So
Exactly.
basically, and when I talk about closeness, I'm talking about when a person feels intimate with another individual,
Yeah,
when a
when you feel
person
you are
feels,
open, when you feel,
yes,
vulnerable with your close
yes,
friend.
they can share their vulnerabilities, they can communicate with someone else without being harshly judged or criticized.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see in social media, as soon as you put an opinion, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people would either agree with you or disagree with you very harshly,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you talk about politics. So that's also another source of division between people and keeping people isolated. And I think I'm almost certain the closer we get to the election, upcoming election, the
Mm-hmm.
more distant people are going to be from each other because they're going to be totally divided on both sides of this Republican Democrat phenomenon. God knows what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of thinking that we are all American, we're all one person, we're all
Mm-hmm.
one people all over the earth. There is no this race and that race. It's one human race. Another source of the separation between all of us was the recent events that we have seen. A lot of
Right.
people took sides with one side and did not approve the other side, and that's also separating people instead of uh, rising above all of that and then thinking, well, the society is about all the people that are in it. Earth was created by the creator, and all of the creations on earth are supposed to be commingling with each other and deal with each other and appreciate each other and have intimacy or maybe at least empathy for each other. And i think
Exactly.
i think that empathy has been removed sort of in some cases,
Mm-hmm.
and it needs to be restored, and I don't think the politicians can restore it. I'm hoping that people take a more decisive action to restore that closeness.
So,
If you look at all kinds of studies in social psychology, we will see that even from childhood, when
mm-hmm.
kids have a good friend, a
Mm-hmm.
good friend, I mean a friend that actually does not get into trouble,
Yeah,
that
what is the sign of the good
be
friend?
a good. It depends, but if you really look at if you go back to childhood, you'll see the friendship is basically a major requirement for
Mm-hmm.
a child to develop, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they need to have common activities with another child.
Right.
They need to be within a certain physical proximity. They cannot really be friends with somebody who's 2,000 miles away, right? So
Right.
for smaller kids, for younger kids, that's extremely important because they experience fun, they experience play, they learn how to self-regulate, they learn how to cooperate with other people, be aware of other people that are around them, and the impact they have on them, and vice versa, the impact the other person has on them, right? So all of this will, they also learn about how to have some empathy for someone else when they fall and they get injured, or learn even how to be rejected by someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that really starts from a very early childhood. And of course, studies like a study that was done in the University of Texas on 9,000 teenagers basically suggested that teenagers who associate with other teenagers that are pretty much okay meaning that they do well in school,
Mm-hmm.
they do not get involved in gangs, they do not use drugs, they don't do anything excessive or what I call crazy. They don't drink, for example, they don't do drugs, they don't have serious mental health issues. Those kids grow up to become very good adults. Like when I say very good, meaning they become good citizens. I just want to put it in very simple terms.
Very good.
And on top of that, numerous studies have shown that these teenagers actually have less psychological issues,
Mm-hmm.
including anxiety and depression and a lot of other psychological issues. In fact, one study suggested that for girls who are at this age, like in adolescent, for girls that are in adolescent age, if they don't have a good friend, there is a higher percentage rate of depression, anxiety, and even um, suicidal ideations. So
Interesting.
we know it is extremely important to have good friends. And when I say good friends, it's not about number of friends, because sometimes people make a mistake. They think, oh, I have 5 friends, and the other one says, well, I have 25.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it does make a difference. The
Mm-hmm.
number actually does not make a difference at all. It's about the quality
Quality of
of the
friendship.
relationship you have with somebody else. Yes, you have to.
Exactly.
In my opinion, it's about intimacy. It's about that caring. It's about that attention you get from the other person, not about the number of people that are around you. You could have one person next to you that that is very intimate with you and pays a lot of attention to your thoughts, pays a lot of attention to how you feel about things, does not criticize you. It's open to listen to you and hear you, and then you're open to listen to them and hear them. That kind of a relationship is what I'm talking about. That's what I call friendship. And of course, friendship does not mean that you're friends with someone and you meet them once and then you don't see them for 4 weeks or 3 months and then you see them again.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of a friendship, the distance in friendship, I think, should be a lot less. It should be limited.
Yeah, like a daily communication.
If it's not even daily, it should be, in my opinion, weekly, if there is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's look at it this way. Go back to your own schooling, my schooling,
Mm-hmm.
right? When we
Right.
were going to school, we were consistently at least 4 to 5 days, sometimes 6 days a week. We
Yeah.
would see the same individuals, the same kids that we were interacting with. Was our relationships a lot better and closer? Absolutely. I don't have a doubt. Because it's also about how much time you spend with each other.
Right.
It is that is, I think, it's very significant factor in any relationship. Now, when you become an adult, you're busy with life events and expectations and your responsibilities and what have you, and that creates a gap between the time you see your other friends, your the friend, even the close friends, right?
Right.
So that, I think, that has a significant impact on the quality of relationship when there is a lot of gap in time between when you actually get to see people.
Yeah.
In
Profound.
in yeah, in adulthood, we know for sure that the companionship and the
Mm-hmm.
emotional support of another adult definitely reduces your anxiety and feelings of depression, loneliness. And when I talk about relationship, means when you don't feel lonely,
Mm-hmm.
not when you're alone. You can be alone but not feel
Right.
lonely, and that's
Right.
okay. Loneliness is where the problem is. And
Right.
I think it also helps with your self-esteem. I mean, this is not something I should even talk about. People can even understand if they just sit down and think about it. It definitely not only improves your emotional state, it helps with your self-esteem. You're less bored,
Self-confidence,
right?
yeah.
You feel supported, you feel appreciated, you feel close to someone else, and every human being needs to be supported. Needs definitely there is a 100% need of every human being to be appreciated and validated. If anybody tells me no, that's not my need, that's their ego talking.
Exactly.
It's
And
not, that is not
increasing,
coming from their soul.
yeah,
Yeah,
and increasing the
that's their thought.
positivity and increasing, the brain happiness and have a healthy life. And a happy life is
Yeah,
very important.
yes. Healthy interaction between people is extremely important. We all know we can do a lot of things on our own, right? You
Right.
have seen people actually go, they have maybe climbed Mount Everest, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they have got all the way to the top. When they do it alone, I mean, and when they come back and you ask them, how was it? It is not, it may have been a glorious day for them because they have actually got to that point, but it wasn't a happy and enjoyable moment because they were alone. Now if two or three people did this, they can come and talk about their experiences they had with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that would make a huge difference, huge impact in what you actually hear between the two different stories, whether you do it alone or you do it with a group of people, or at least even one more person. Group activities definitely make you happier, especially
Exactly.
if the group is accepting you and allowing you to be yourself, is
Mm-hmm.
not too judgmental, is very caring
Mm-hmm.
and supportive and
Exactly.
responsive to your needs and thoughts. It makes
Mm-hmm.
a huge difference.
Amazing, amazing. You explained very profound and very good about have a good friend. And so now is the time to talk about what's the signs of not good friend.
Not a good friend. Well, it's hard because it's hard for me to say who is actually not a good friend because a lot of people may have a different view, right? One
Exactly.
person might say not a good friend is the one who does not accept you for whatever I do. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what you do could be excessive drinking. You may be using drugs. Maybe you even want to do a DUI. And if that person says, no, I'm not going to get into your car, is that person really bad? No, that is not the case. So having a good friend is also having a friend that actually makes good decisions in life,
Right.
right? It's a friend who is stable,
Exactly.
who cares about social values and respects the law.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just having any friend. I've had friends who in high school who were you doing drugs. Was that a good friend? And what should I have associated with those people? No. We do know studies have shown when teenagers, for example, hang out with, or more more than any other friends, are exposed to bad friends, to friends who misbehave or break the law or use drugs and do all kinds of stuff. Those people grow up to become criminal adults. There is a tendency
Mm-hmm.
to gravitate towards people that you think are cool, right? Because you're not really thinking straight when you're a teenager. For the most part, I'm not talking about all teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who actually think and pick and choose a good friend, the friend that cares about morality, cares about the law, cares about your emotions, cares about your future, promotes and stands behind you when you
Exactly.
make good decisions for your life. That's a good friend. And I think selection of that is not easy. Unfortunately, people sometimes, out of either loneliness or a lack of self-esteem, right? We know
Mm-hmm.
that if you don't have good self-esteem or a lot of confidence in yourself, you may not choose the friends that are really good for you. You may choose the friends that are not so good, that maybe others stay away from. And because you're not really happy with yourself, you don't have a lot of confidence in your abilities, you don't have self-confidence, you may choose those people and hang around those people because it's easier, it's more convenient. But is it fulfilling? No. Is it going to make a positive impact in your life? I don't think so. I actually think it has a negative impact in your life. But then nobody wants to be lonely, so they pick the friend that comes by.
Dr. Kate, amazing. You explain amazing about the more signs of the good friend, and people they can recognize if that person they don't have these signs is not a good friend. All our viewers and people, if you want to ask any question about this topic, and you can send a message in our chat room. Go to your in a message room and send a message. We're gonna have all messages next time with Dr. Kate. Thank you so much. If you want to close this topic about importance of friendship for our life.
If you don't mind, I want to share briefly what could actually ruin a friendship, if that's okay.
Please,
Because
please, of
having a
course.
friendship, the quality of the friendship, it's important, but how to keep that friendship is also more important, I think. So
Right.
one of the things that I see these days, friends actually fight with each other. Even family members argue with each
Mm,
other and fight with each other. Is more on pressing their own political views. So we have to be very mindful of that, that we don't constantly press our political views with friends. Unless they have the same views, then it can be understandable, right? And then you have to make sure that you talk. You don't stay silent and quiet when you're in interaction or when you're with your friend. Like you have to make sure that you show appreciation for the other friend. Like I said earlier, every person wants to be appreciated and validated, right? And then you have to stick with what other people also like. You can't just be selfish and say, this is what I like to do, we're going to go to such and such restaurant. No, we're not going to go do this activity. You got to do something that your friend also likes. So you have to be flexible, right? Don't come across to another person or a friend as know it all, like you know everything or you're better than them in any shape or form, because that is the way you actually break a relationship. Make sure you actually exercise, have good judgment, have empathy for the other friend when you're interacting with them. These are very important. And also, the most important thing, be respectful. Treat them with a lot of respect,
mm-hmm.
and don't treat them like a servant. I see a lot of people that actually are in friendship with each other, but one is trying to overpower the other one or use them and abuse them. So that's not really a friendship when they use a friend, right? They become friends and they ask them, do this for me, do that for me. Oh, it's my friend. It's okay. I can ask them to do this. You check in with that friend and make sure they're okay with it. Don't assume that they're okay to do this and that for you.
Exactly. If you're agree, I'd like to talk to you next time about conflict resolution in friendship.
Absolutely. No
Okay.
problem. Absolutely.
Then everybody, if you want to ask your question, send your questions for next time with Dr. Kate. Gonna be this
Wednesday night, I believe.
Wednesday night at
Yes.
6 p.m. Los Angeles
Awesome.
time. Thank you so much. Appreciate for your time and
Thank you.
see you Wednesday. Appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Have a good evening.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
Bye.